This is a video series exploring the functionality that DraughtHub has to offer. In this video, we will talk about the quoting system. There are many systems out there offering quoting functionality. DraughtHub sets itself apart from everything else through two key features. First of all, quotes are integrated with everything else in the platform: invoices, timesheets, purchase orders, but most importantly, actual engineering jobs. We will explore this link in more detail later. Second of all, via DraughtHub's powerful template system, all quotes follow brand guidelines regardless of who creates them. Templates are a fundamental feature of the platform and one that allows infinite customizability on a level not offered by any other platform. To start with, we'll create a quote. Let's say we're quoting for the demolition of a building on Oxford Street. In DraughtHub, the main unit is a site. Sites are part of a client. Within sites, we can have quotes, invoices, purchase orders, and files related to the actual job, such as AutoCAD files, calculations, as well as various types of engineering reports. When we create a quote, we can either link it to an existing site or create a new site. For this video, we will create a new site. We'll call it Oxford Street. After the site is created, we just need to choose the template we'll use for our quote. We only have one quote template in this demo organization, so we will go with that. Once the quote is created, it will show up on the dashboard in the draft column. Let's open it up. On the quote details page, we are presented with a two-column layout. On the left-hand side, we have the basic quote information. Below that is a templated form, followed by the line items table, and finally, the quote activity log. Let's take a look at each of the sections on this page. In this video, we will only cover the most important functionality instead of describing the purpose of each individual button. At the top, we are provided with the name of the client and site, along with the ability to choose a client contact and client address. The client address is only displayed on the quote document. The client contact, meanwhile, controls where the quote is sent, in addition to having this information displayed within the quote document. We also have the ability to revision our quote in case the client requests changes to it. Moving further down, we have the quote title and description. Both can be included in the quote document. Below this is the form section. This section is entirely customizable and can be used to capture any type of information you want. For the purposes of this demonstration, I am using a quote template from Alan White Design. The first text box is used to control the content of the email being sent to the client. It can include dynamic information such as the name of the client, the quote detail, the quote amount, among others. Other than that, this example form is quite small, but it could be set up to require a lot more information. The first input we see is an attachment picker that we can use to include case studies. All we have to do is check the relevant boxes, and our quote will include an impressive array of previous projects which will likely impress any potential client. Next, we have a notes section which offers basic text formatting as well as the option to include attachments. Finally, we can choose whether we want to include the standard terms and conditions or have a simple mention that says the terms that apply are those in the contract we've already signed with the client. In addition to these fields, we could have various other options such as engineer CVs to show exactly who we plan to assign to this work we're quoting for, thereby making our proposition look even more professional. We could also list assumptions, payment terms, details about the program of work, and many other things. All of these inputs can be pre-filled with content or can be empty by default. Next up is the line items table. The columns in the table are again customizable. By default, we have title, description, quantity, unit price, and the amount. In our example, we also have columns for the sales sector and geographical location, which are custom columns. We can also add other, more advanced columns to this table, but we will not explore that functionality for now. One column that is worth mentioning is time charge. For each line item, if the time charge box is not ticked, then that item will have a fixed price. If, however, we tick the box, that item will show up on the quote as not having an upfront price, but will instead be charged according to the amount of time spent on it. DraughtHub's powerful timesheets and invoicing functionality make this process a breeze and eliminate a huge amount of complexity compared to doing this by hand. Let's make the first line item be fixed price. We'll say the title is Site Visit and Initial Assessment, and also write a short description. It will have a quantity of 1 and a unit price of £500. Let's say we have a good relationship with this client already, so they trust us to do the work as quickly as possible. We'll make the second line item a time charge 1. Let's call it Design and Engineering and add another short description. Once we tick the time charge box, the quantity and unit price boxes go away. Now for the sales sector, we'll select Demolition, and for geographical location, we'll put London. Once we've filled out our quote form, it's time to look at the PDF preview on the right side of the page. Just like with the form, the content we see here is entirely custom, created to reflect the individual brand of each DraughtHub client. The cover page contains the main project information, which only had to be input once, as well as the date, company information, and anything else that might be needed. After that, we have a placeholder for a PDF attachment, which in this case showcases Alan White Designs brand. We will see this properly displayed once we download the quote PDF. Moving on, we have the actual quote page, which again contains the project details as well as the quote information and amounts. Note that there's no repetition needed, which also means there's no potential for the details to be correct in one place and wrong in others. We also have a watermark on the quote page since it has not been reviewed. This enforces the company's processes and protects against situations such as junior employees sending out incorrect quotes and other documents. Finally, one key part of the quote is the automatic inclusion of the terms and conditions that the company has, therefore ensuring they reach the client and are always up to date. At the bottom of the last page, we also have a table displaying the hourly rates which apply to this client. These rates can be standard across all clients or vary from one client to another and only need to be set up once. Then the platform will keep track of them throughout the life cycle of the job. They can also be omitted from the quote just like any other element. Now it is time for the quote to be reviewed. Managers can set up rules for who in the company can review quotes, either their own or someone else's. In this case, I am going to choose myself as the reviewer, since I have the required authority for it. During the review, the reviewer can leave comments or make the required changes directly. Other people can be notified by tagging them in a comment. Let's say this quote looks good, so I'm going to approve it. Once that's done, the watermark goes away and it is ready to be sent to the client. We can either download the PDF and send it manually or do that straight from DraughtHub. Before we move on, let's take a look at the complete quote document showing the PDF attachments and the quote page without the watermark. One benefit of sending it from the platform is that the action is tracked in the audit log and will remain there forever, as opposed to emails, which can always be lost. After the client gives their approval for the quote, we can mark it as accepted. Usually it's at this stage that, quote, line items become jobs to be done by the engineers. To do that, all we have to do is go to the line item we want and click on Add to Job. We can either add it to an existing job in the case of an extension to the original scope, or we can create an entirely new job. Regardless of which option we choose, the job that is now linked to the quote line item will automatically have a budget equal to the amount from the quote. As we will see in the next videos, this combined with timesheets allows us to accurately track budgets as the job progresses. Next, we will explore the file storage, revision management, and integration with desktop programs such as AutoCAD and Excel.